Hello and welcome to the AI with Maribel Lopez podcast. I'm extremely excited to be here live at the IBM Think event. We're in Boston. We have been talking about AI, we've been talking about governance. This specific session that I wanted to do, as everybody knows, I'm really passionate about AI ethics, AI governance, and so I have a great panel here today from both IBM and AWS. So I'm going to turn it over to the panel to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to launch into a few questions. Why don't we start with you, Karthik?
Sure. Hey everyone, my name is Karthik Bharati. I'm General Manager in the Amazon SageMaker team.
Right.
I focus on responsible AI and machine learning operations. That includes ML governance.
Hi, my name's Heather Gentile. I'm head of product for Watsonx.Governance here at IBM. And in my role, I focus on accelerating responsible and accountable adoption of AI.
And I'm Kush Varshney. I'm an IBM fellow at IBM Research, and I work on all of the innovations that eventually feed into what Heather does with the Watsonx.Governance products.
Great. So I'm actually really happy to have everyone here today. Governance has been a topic we've been discussing for quite some time. There have been products that IBM and others have built that have been available in the market for quite some time, but we're really starting to see this year organizations take a better look, a deeper look at what's going on with the governance stack, and particularly what's going on with AI in the governance stack. So I'm going to ask Heather, maybe we could start, Heather, talking about what are you seeing in terms of momentum around AI and governance and how things are changing?
So what we're seeing is that AI governance has become much more strategic to the organization.
Yes.
As organizations are looking for opportunity to create innovative differentiators, it's important that the adoption of AI, when prioritizing to be both responsible and accountable, is in line with the organization's ethics and culture and values. AI adoption has been around for years, but with predictive ML, we saw a lot of siloed projects supporting individual business units, working with data science and IT. That's really changed with the introduction of generative AI due to the innovation opportunity, but also the risks and the costs associated with it. So we see organizations including more stakeholders as they're defining enhancements to their governance programs with the intent of being able to scale across the enterprise in a way that's consistent and breaks down those silos.
You know, I love where you're going with the silos because I think it's going to lead me into my very next question. But the generative AI point I think is really very important. One of the things that happen is that all of a sudden organizations are really approaching AI in a different way. It seems much more accessible to them, and now I think some of the risks associated with data and information are much more apparent to them. But Karthik, I want to hand it over to you because there was some exciting news when we were talking about silos and islands and how do we break those down, and I think you might have a thing or two to say about what's happened today at the show.
Absolutely. So we are super excited to bring the strengths of Amazon SageMaker, which is a purpose-built machine learning service to build, deploy, and manage machine learning models at scale, along with the strengths of IBM Watsonx.Governance, which allows customers to manage and govern AI solutions so customers can remain compliant with the evolving regulatory landscape. So with this integration, customers have a simplified path to look at both risk management and regulatory compliance for AI models and use cases. So we've been working with the IBM Watsonx team for close to a year now, and we're super excited in how customers can embrace those innovations, make sure that they rapidly and securely use those Gen AI innovations, modify their ML workflows, and ultimately generate more value to customers.
Yeah, what I love about what you're talking about here is we have clients that are looking at hybrid multi-cloud worlds. They're looking at the move to AI. They have data in multiple places. They have their preferred tools that they want to use for managing and securing that data, but they need to actually go that next level and layer governance in there as well. And actually, companies like IBM and AWS working together, I think, really help remove some of the friction that's been in that process. Now, we are at Think, and there's a lot of discussion about different research projects that have been happening while at Think. So Kush, maybe we could turn over to you and say, hey, what's new and exciting in terms of governance and research?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. This is an exciting time to be a researcher in this space.
Yeah,
I've been waiting my whole career for this moment, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things that we're working on. One of them relates to hallucination, which is a big problem that we see with these generative AI systems. So we're developing a lot of ways to detect hallucination and then understand, explain where did the information come from, attribute it, and so forth. All of that is a big, exciting area that is going to be coming into to Watsonx. And then, as Karthik mentioned, a lot of the regulatory sort of things are changing. There's actually a AI summit happening in Korea right now as we speak that's bringing a lot of the safety concerns to the forefront. And we're doing a lot to try to understand, elicit from users, what is it that they actually care about? What is the context, the use case in which these particular harms or these particular risks are the most relevant, and then from that we can then pass it off and then mitigate, which we're also developing some algorithms for.
Awesome. Karthik, I want to toss back to you for a second because it strikes me that putting together a partnership like this was probably not something you did yesterday. How long did it take, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, we've been working with the Watsonx.Governance team for close to a year now. It started off with a discussion with, hey, is this even a possibility? Back then,
Yeah.
governance was known, but it was not as prominent as it is today. So going forward, we plan to closely work with the Watsonx team, hear customer feedback, and see where we can innovate more to make sure that the experience is seamless in a way that customers can take advantage of the integration.
Now, it seems that in each of your discussions, somebody has mentioned the word regulation in some manner, shape, or form. Heather, I know when you and I last spoke, we were hot on the heels of the EU AI Act that had just come out the last time we spoke. So maybe we could spend a minute talking about what do you see happening in the regulatory environment these days, and what should companies be thinking about to prepare?
Yeah, so I think the best practice is for organizations to be reviewing their current policies and procedures, their requirements and controls for completeness, certainly. There's been no shortage of activity out of the EU.
No.
There were announcements related to the EU AI Act even today. We're seeing in the States, in the absence of a proposed federal legislation, states beginning to model their own state regulation after the EU AI Act. California, very similar to what they did for data privacy and GDPR. So expecting a whole lot more flurry of activity. In Asia, Singapore has taken a very innovative approach to regulation, where not only did they provide guidance, but they put together a toolkit that organizations can use to experiment and become familiar with AI and its opportunities and collaborate with regulatory guidance. And that's really what I think we need as a balance, is clear guidance that provides the right requirements in order to adopt AI responsibly, but doesn't stifle innovation.
Stifling innovation, regulation, governance, all those things are a big challenge for organizations. Kush, how does this impact you as you think about designing things within research?
Yeah, so I mean, one important point is that these regulations are kind of evolving and are a point-in-time statement, and it's not just the laws that a company, a customer needs to worry about. They have their own ethical principles, their own sort of internal documents and regulations that they want to enforce in their chatbots and other sort of generative AI systems. So one of the demos we have on the floor actually showcases how you can specialize a LLM to follow your company's own regulations, which we call kind of an alignment studio in a sense. So there's, going to be a mix of things, some that are codified for everyone, but there's going to also be very contextual, industry-specific, company-specific things. So it keeps us on our toes.
Absolutely. Speaking of keeping on toes, I know that every organization out there is trying to build a strategy. So I thought maybe we could close this session with maybe one quick piece of advice that you'd give organizations as they go forth thinking about both AI and governance. Karthik, would you like to start?
Sure. early in the days we did a data first strategy and then an ML first,
Right.
model first. I almost think we are at a stage where we'll do a governance first strategy where enterprise would look at governance as an important element of their overall ML workflow.
Much easier to put it in at the beginning than it is to put it in the end. Heather?
I definitely agree with that, Kartik, and I think it brought together our partnership and the collaboration and the synergy between SageMaker and Watsonx.Governance. As organizations are looking to get started, there are a lot of free tools and opportunities to learn more about the opportunity that generative AI can bring to your business. On IBM.com, we have the ability to sign up for free trials and get immediate access to software. And then working with our Institute of Business Value, we actually do a lot of market research around emerging trends for generative AI. I can recommend a really great CEO's Guide to Generative AI Use Cases, which helps to identify some of those innovation opportunities that people could download.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I guess one last thing that I'll say is there's plenty of research in the pipeline, so we're kind of inventing new algorithms for mitigating these things, these different risks, different harms, understanding people better. I think eventually this is going to become a relationship between humans and AI systems, and the more we can understand the humans' goals and needs, the more we can get the AI systems to adapt to them and act in a moral sort of way. So I think all of that is on its way.
I love it. We've been talking a lot about the human-AI partnership, and I hope we continue to advance that research and move it forward. I want to thank everybody for coming and speaking with me today at the IBM Think event and for building better governance that matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.